The city skyline shimmered through the glass walls of Rachel Turner's office, but she hardly noticed. Once known as the fierce and unstoppable CEO of a major tech company, Rachel now sat slumped at her desk, her eyes locked on a small framed photo. It showed her daughter Lily, smiling, running through a field of sunflowers. That was before the accident. 6 months ago, a crash left Lily paralyzed from the waist down. Since then, everything had changed. Rachel had always believed there was no problem she couldn't solve with strategy, connections, or money. But this, watching her daughter suffer in silence, was something she couldn't fix. She poured everything into private specialists, cutting-edge treatments, and the best hospitals, but nothing worked. Lily's body remained still, her spirit dimming more each day. Rachel, once commanding boardrooms and leading global negotiations, found herself missing meetings, avoiding phone calls, and drifting through her days like a ghost. Her empire kept running, but her world had stopped. The once vibrant office, filled with urgency and ambition, was now soaked in silence and sadness. The hum of the city below offered no comfort. Rachel leaned back in her chair and exhaled, a long breath filled with grief and helplessness. In that moment, she wasn't a CEO, a leader, or a symbol of power. She was just a mother, broken, scared, and desperate. Money could buy machines and experts, but not miracles. And tonight, as the office lights dimmed, Rachel wasn't thinking about profits or deadlines. She was thinking about Lily's laughter, the kind that used to echo through their home, and wondering if she'd ever hear it again. All she had left was a picture, a memory, and the haunting feeling of not knowing what else to do. The office hallways were dim and quiet, long past business hours. David moved silently, pushing his cleaning cart from one room to the next, humming softly to himself like he always did on the night shift. A single father and janitor, he'd learned to find calm in the routine. But tonight, something felt different. As he passed the corner office, the one with the glass walls and gold nameplate, he noticed the lights still on. Inside, Rachel Turner sat motionless, her shoulders hunched, her face buried in her hands. David paused, instinct telling him to move along. But then he heard it, soft, muffled sobs. A sound too heavy to ignore. He hesitated, hand hovering near the doorknob. He had no business being there. No degree. No status. Just a mop, calloused hands, and a life full of scars. But still, something made him stay. He knocked gently. "Ma'am. I don't mean to intrude," he said, voice kind and steady, "but I think I can help your daughter." Rachel's head lifted slowly. Her eyes were red and tired, and for a moment, her expression hardened, guarded, almost offended. Who was this janitor to offer help? She had hired world-class doctors, specialists, therapists. None of them had worked. But David didn't flinch. He didn't speak with arrogance. His gaze held no pity, only quiet conviction. There was something in his eyes that disarmed her. Something unfamiliar in this world of polished titles and prepared speeches. Purpose. Experience. A story he hadn't told yet. For reasons she didn't fully understand, Rachel didn't tell him to leave. Something in her heart whispered, "Listen." The rehab center was nothing like the sleek, high-tech clinics Rachel was used to. It was small, humble, its walls faded, its equipment worn. But there was something deeply human about it. No marble floors or digital kiosks, just warmth, simplicity, and the quiet sounds of hope being rebuilt. David greeted her at the entrance with a gentle nod and introduced her to his daughter, Emily. She was 13, full of light, and walking steadily across the room. Rachel watched, stunned. Emily had been in a wheelchair since birth. Doctors said she'd never walk, David explained. But I didn't accept that. I studied, improvised, and I never gave up. It wasn't science that filled Rachel's chest with a flicker of hope, it was David's faith, his devotion, his belief in what love could accomplish. She agreed to let him try with Lily. What began as uncertain, awkward sessions, stretching limbs, encouraging small movements, slowly transformed. David worked with patience, showing Lily how to reconnect with her body, and how to trust it again. Rachel sat in the corner every day, watching as her daughter began to respond, not just physically, but emotionally. There were tears, of course. Setbacks. Frustration. But there was also laughter. Playful moments between Lily and Emily. Jokes, encouragement, music filling the small space. Lily wasn't just healing, she was coming back to life. And then one afternoon, in the middle of a balance exercise, Lily giggled. It stopped Rachel cold. That sound, so rare these past 6 months, broke through the wall of grief. For the first time in months, her little girl was smiling. And not because of machines or specialists, but because of a janitor who saw more than just brokenness, he saw potential. The garden behind the rehab center was quiet that morning, bathed in soft golden sunlight. Birds chirped in the trees, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Rachel sat on a wooden bench, hands clasped tightly, heart pounding. David stood beside Lily, who was now stronger, more confident, but still hadn't walked unassisted. Not yet. Today, something felt different. Lily looked at her mother with wide, determined eyes. David stepped back, just slightly. No braces. No walker. Just Lily, and the space between her and Rachel. Silence fell. Then, slowly, Lily shifted her weight. One foot moved forward. Then the other. Her knees wobbled, but she didn't fall. Her arms reached out as she took 3 trembling steps, toward her mother. Rachel gasped. Her hands flew to her mouth, eyes flooding with tears. She stood up instinctively, then fell to her knees, arms open and shaking with emotion. Lily collapsed into her embrace. They held each other there, sobbing in the middle of the garden, mother and daughter, reunited in more than just body, but spirit. Rachel kissed her daughter's head again and again, whispering, "You did it, baby. You did it." David watched from a few feet away, hands in his pockets, a soft smile on his face. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. It wasn't medicine that healed Lily. It was belief. It was love. It was a father who had nothing, but gave everything. That moment wasn't just a step forward, it was a leap of faith, a miracle built not in labs, but in hearts. The room buzzed with anticipation. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. Employees filled the hall, expecting another corporate update or product launch. But when Rachel Turner stepped onto the stage, she wasn't the cold, unreachable CEO they once knew. She stood taller, softer, her eyes glowing with purpose. She didn't speak of profits or expansion. Instead, she told a story, about pain, helplessness, and a mother's desperation. About a little girl who had forgotten how to smile, until someone unexpected walked into her life. Then she turned, motioned to the side of the stage, and welcomed David to the podium. "He was a janitor in this building," Rachel said, her voice cracking, "but he's a giant in my heart. He saved my daughter's life. And today, he becomes our new head of community wellness." Gasps filled the room. Some eyes welled with tears. David stepped forward, humbled, still in awe of how far life had brought him. Rachel placed a hand on his shoulder, the gratitude in her touch saying more than words ever could. Then came the real surprise. Rachel announced the launch of the Emily and Lily Foundation, named after the 2 little girls whose strength changed their parents' lives. The foundation would offer free physical therapy and emotional support to children with disabilities from underprivileged families, because healing should never depend on wealth. Applause erupted, but Rachel's final words silenced the room once more. "Sometimes, angels don't wear wings. They wear uniforms, carry mops, and carry the world on their backs, one child at a time. In that moment, the world didn't see a janitor or a CEO. They saw two parents, forever changed by love, and committed to passing it on. In a world where power is often measured in wealth and titles, this story reminds us that true strength lies in compassion, and real heroes often walk among us unnoticed. Rachel Turner, once a commanding CEO, found herself powerless in the face of her daughter's pain, until an unlikely figure, a janitor named David, stepped forward not with credentials, but with heart. Through his unwavering belief, homemade methods, and the deep love only a parent can offer, David reignited hope where there was none. He helped Lily not only to walk again, but to live again. In turn, Rachel rediscovered her own purpose, not just as a mother, but as a leader who could now use her influence for something far greater than profit. Their journey wasn't about status or science, it was about the healing power of humanity. A single act of kindness, born from the quiet resilience of a single father, transformed not just one life, but many. And together, they built a legacy of hope through the Emily and Lily Foundation, ensuring that no child is left behind simply because their family can't afford to fight. In the end, this is not just a story of recovery, it's a story of redemption, of human connection, and of how the smallest voices often carry the greatest miracles. Because sometimes, the person who changes everything isn't the one we expect. It's the one who simply says, "Let me help."